Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back at Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The general is telling us about the challenges the police face in their performance of their day-to-day duties. You can imagine the bereaved families demanding answers from the police as to how far is the investigations of their cases of their loved ones. On the other hand, the police minister gives out instructions to disband the PKTT. Whilst the investigation is going on, the families need answers. It is indeed a tricky situation. General Sibiya also demands that the 121 dockets should be sent to Pretoria, should be moved from KZN to Pretoria. And according to General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, if the PKTT is disbanded, that means the dockets should be sent to various police stations. But it doesn't happen like that. Instead, the dockets are sent to the head office. What for? Why? To gather dust? We don't know. Families are waiting for answers. What did the law-abiding citizens of this country do to deserve this treatment? Why are the citizens of this country left vulnerable to criminals? What is going on in this country? Are you working for the country or against the people of this country? These are the kind of questions that we need to ask ourselves. It is painful indeed for the bereaved families to be ignored and not given answers to their questions, only to find out that decisions that are taken at the highest level of office are really shocking.
Fate as determined by General Sibiya in this letter?
In the main, the Sibiya is instructing the divisional commissioner to ensure that the cases under investigation, the instruction by the Minister of Police, the directive of the day of the 31st of December, which was issued by the Minister of Police, that this directive be implemented immediately. And that's why on his letter, he makes a reference that in compliance with this directive, he, as General Sibiya, is directing that the Divisional Commissioner Crime Detection must engage with the Divisional Commissioner Crime Intelligence.
Yes. And I understand that, in summary, the directive there is all the dockets should be directed to a specific place at national office outside the KZN area. Is my understanding correct?
That is correct.
Now, do you know if you, I'll put it differently, if you, and that's assuming you had the authority, if you were, as a provincial commissioner, were to decide to disband a task team operating in KwaZulu-Natal with dockets on matters relating to on dockets relating to issues and crimes arising in KZN, what would automatically happen to those dockets? If a task team in KwaZulu-Natal is disbanded, and I will assume for purposes of this question that it correctly disbanded, what automatically happens to those dockets that the task team handled?
A case dockets commissioners belong to a police station. The cases open at a police station get registered is going to have a case number of a particular police station. The docket might be investigated by a specialized unit, a task team, or whatever that is established. But on conclusion thereof, it goes back to the police station where it was registered. So if there was a decision to stop the work of this task team on dockets that are already finalized, will need to be returned back to the stations, and dockets that are still under investigation will also need to be returned back to the very same stations. So that those dockets have been allocated to different investigators at the stations so that the work or investigation work can continue.
So what would be the basis to treat these particular 121 dockets differently, and that instead of going back to their respective police stations, that they are directed to come to national office. Would you know the basis for that?
I just did not know what could be the reason, although later I discovered what could be the motive. Perhaps we'll discuss that later.
We'll discuss that later, particularly what could be, but let's try and stick to fact for the moment. Commissioner Baloyi?
Thank you. Ms. Silo, before you step off the letter, and let me direct this so that you can formulate it your way to the general. In this letter, and maybe it's because I'm not familiar with police speak, where in this letter do you say that there's an instruction to deliver the dockets to head office?
I think I can assist that by referring to the next annexure.
Okay.
Which is annexure, it's the same annexure, it's a series of letters. It starts at page 190. And the letter at page 190 is dated the 22nd of 2025. And that also is issued by General Sibiya. At item 2 of that letter, at item 1, General Sibiya cross-references the letter under discussion, together with another one of a previous date, 17th of January. At item 2, he states that in compliance with the Minister's Directive of the 31st of December 2024 and subsequent directives on the matter, you are advised that this process should be finalized by Thursday, 24th April 2025. And it says this includes the transfer of all dockets, closed, currently under investigation, and in court to the Division Detective and Forensic Services. This is, once again, directed to the Divisional Commissioner, Crime Intelligence, and Detective and Forensic Services, same as the previous letter.
Thank you.
Thank you. You followed my explanation to the Commissioner General?
Yes, Commissioner, I could just confirm that the annex at the marked 190, paragraph 2, is specific to that.
Thank you, General.
Thank you, General. So then it's clarified that at least in those 2 letters, the decision or the directive instruction is that the dockets be dealt with in the manner articulated at page 190, which is transfer of the dockets, whether closed, currently under investigation and in court, to the Division Detective and Forensic Services. Earlier, when we put up the organogram, and I checked my understanding with you, I'd understood that division to be a national division and to be one of the divisions that are under the auspices of General Sibiya's division as Deputy National Commissioner. Yes. Am I correct in my understanding?
That is correct, Commissioner. As I put out in the structure that there are 3 deputies under the National Commissioner at the head office. Each of the deputies is overseeing specific functions. So in this regard, this division, detective and forensic service, it's a division that is headed by Lieutenant General Sintumule, and it results under the responsibility of the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, which is Lieutenant General Sibiya.
So technically, my apologies. I say, so effectively, they leave the control of the task team and or the provincial commissioner, and they now will resort under General Sibiya through the Division Detective and Forensic Services, which is a national function.
Yeah, that is correct, Commissioner. They will have these dockets moved from one province and go over another province to a third province, from KZN past Free State and landed in Gauteng.
Did you, upon learning, now let me put it differently, when did you learn of the intention to transfer those dockets and under what circumstances?
We, as a standard practice that I'll do from time to time in the province, commissioners, would be to conduct an oversight on different functions that are performed in the province. And it so happened from time to time that we do what we refer to in the province as a case flow management session. And this is where we receive presentation, I receive presentation together with my deputies on different investigations that are running in the province in order to see performance of the investigation team, assess challenges that the team has, so we can support in areas where we need to support. During the session that was held in May, I came to learn that these 121 case dockets had been moved to Pretoria. And that briefing was given to me by a member that was in charge of this political killings task team at the time in KZN, Colonel Matlo, who advised me that when they moved this docket, it was as instruction of J.R. Kumalo, who was a project manager of the political killings task team. That's when I became aware, May 2025.
May 2025. What did you do, if anything, upon learning?
It would have been easier, Commissioner, for me to pick up a phone and call J.R. Kumalo because I'm in constant communication with him. But since, in my eyes, this was violating the law, I felt it's important to start putting things formally. So I wrote to J.R. Kumalo, inquiring about these directives that he has issued. I was asking him about the status of these dockets because the team had presented to me that through his instruction, the dockets were taken to the head office.
And the letter you reference is at MK11, you refer to it, paragraph 138 of your affidavit, of your statement, rather, my apologies.
That is correct.
And that annexure MK11 appears at from pages 192, Commissioners. If you could turn to the letter, General. Is that the letter?
That is correct. That is the letter that I wrote to J.R. Kumalo, inquiring about these dockets.
Now, it is clear from a reading of that letter that you made the inquiry to General Kumalo in the terms that you expressed yourself, but neither your statement nor your annexures say anything about whether or not you received a response from General Kumalo on these issues, did you?
Yeah, well, J.R. Kumalo did indicate to me that he had received instruction which led him to hand over these dockets to the head office. And that instruction came from the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, Sibiya, whom, according to the correspondence that was sent to Kumalo, it was not written to me, it was written to Kumalo, instructing Kumalo to bring the dockets, that Sibiya was acting under instruction of the minister on a letter of 31st that was disbanding the team.
Now, do you know whether or not the demand of the transfer of the dockets to Pretoria was with the knowledge, concurrence, and support of the National Commissioner? Do you know that as a fact at all?
Before that, how did Lieutenant General Kumalo convey what you've just said to you? Was it orally?
He spoke to me on the phone about what has happened.
Oh, thank you.
If I may just point out for clarity, Chair, at 139, the witness states what General Kumalo informed him, and then he says, I was verbally informed that General Sibiya acted in
I missed that. Thank
so
you.
I take it in the course of that conversation.
I missed that.
Thank you, Chair. So now we turn to National Commissioner. Are you aware of whether or not he knew about this demand for the transfer of the 121 dockets? And anything that you know, please indicate how you became aware thereof.
Commissioners, I report to the National Commissioner as appointed by him. Therefore, I must account to him. On the telephone conversation that I had with him, which I did not reflect on the statement, was exactly that I'm told that the dockets have been taken to Pretoria. Whether did he authorize such? And he said, no, we never authorized such transfer or movement of case dockets. And the National Commissioner, in supporting what he said to me, he had given me an affidavit. I've seen an affidavit that he wrote under oath where he indicated that he never authorized Sibiya to take these dockets. And that was in June, I beg your pardon, in July. The affidavit was dated in July. And I also know that during the recent court process where Lieutenant Sibiya had submitted an urgent application in court about his placement at home or leave of absence that he was challenging and subsequent to that intention to suspend, that on the submission that was made by the National Commissioner to the court papers, he says the same thing that he had said to me, that he never authorized the dockets to be moved from KwaZulu-Natal to Pretoria.
So if I understand you correctly, you learned from the affidavit deposed by the National Commissioner in that matter, and the National Commissioner subsequently confirmed to you directly, personally, that he never authorized the transfer of those dockets.
The National Commissioner personally, he told me that he never authorized it, and then affidavits that followed confirmed the same thing.
And do you know whether or not the dockets were duly transferred? You said on the 20th, by the 20th of May, when you learned, they had been transferred, right?
That is correct, Commissioners.
Do you know what became the fate of those dockets after they left the control of the political killings task team?
Well, the political killings task team members were complaining to me that they are receiving unindicted complaints from the members of, the family members of the victims of crime that they were in constant contact with as they were investigating these cases, in order to seek update on the work that the team is doing. And the team could not give them update on the work that has been done, and their families are not receiving any update on the work that is done. So that made me conclude that nobody is making contact with the families, there's no investigation that has been done, and really the whereabouts exactly of these dockets was also in question. So it was my conclusion that from the time they were taken until the time when they were transferred back, nothing was done in those documents in terms of the investigation of crime.
Chair,
It is 4 o'clock, but
just two questions to...
my co-commissioner has a question,
Okay.
and then
Mine were just to wrap up this topic.
after him, you will see when it's convenient for us.
Thank you, Chair.
Advocate
Commissioner.
Silo, maybe you'll deal with it in your own way, because you're still continuing with your questions. I just want clarity on whether the directive was implemented. That is the directive to disband the task team. Because it seems to me that where we are going now, we're dealing with the dockets and the removal of the dockets from the task team to Pretoria. But what became of the task team itself following the directive? You can deal with it in your own way.
I guess the reference is to the warm bodies.
Yes. What became of them? I think it's going to be, the answer to that question will be perhaps slightly lengthy and complicated, and might perhaps take you way beyond 4 o'clock than more than you intend. So may I suggest that we flag it and we come back to it? The questions that I wanted to pose to the witness are just closing the issue of dockets. And we open with your question tomorrow morning. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. General, so just to close up on the issue of dockets. At paragraph 142, you give just a very brief summary. That seems to imply that you have a good sense of the issues that were being investigated and reflected in those dockets. Am I correct in my suggestion?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, if I am correct, my question to you then is, to your knowledge, did any of the 121 dockets contain any detail regarding investigations or generally the work of the Gauteng counterintelligence in the Gauteng counterintelligence operations? Did any of those dockets refer, could be parallel to, based on the description, the explanation you gave us earlier, to any of the work of the Gauteng counterintelligence operations?
Commissioners, the directive from General Sibiya was talking about the deactivation of the political killings task team. The case docket of the political killings task team was situated in KwaZulu-Natal, and they were not part of the Gauteng counterintelligence ops. So the GCI ops dockets were kept separately from those that were brought from KZN. Okay. So I don't think there was any mixture whatsoever.
Now, in last question then, and perhaps very briefly, your paragraph 141 and 142, you speak of an analysis conducted on those dockets upon their return, and you draw certain conclusions as to what happened to those dockets in the intervening period. We'd like to summarize that, and that will be the last question for the day.
Commissioners, although this matter came to the public through the media briefing the National Commission had, again, thanking the media for bring this matter to the attention of the entire citizens, that when the media made an inquiry to the National Commission already directed a week prior to that for the dockets to be taken back to KZN. And we had since convened with the acting divisional commissioner of detective service at the time, and we agreed together with General Kumalo of how we're going to deal with these dockets that are sitting in Pretoria before they come to KZN, be mindful of a possibility that the commission might want to have a look at those dockets. So our agreement was that we are going to have these dockets audit conducted, page by page in each docket, to confirm that which was handed over at the head office, whether it's still intact as it's coming back. As the directive of the National Commission, it was explicit that the copies of those dockets must be made and kept at the head office. So the team had to then make photocopies, scan those dockets, and sign off on each and every document that is inside the docket, and conduct inspection on the docket to see whether has there been any investigation conducted, meaning the very same team, political killing task team, that came to hand over the dockets after driving from KZN and bringing them here, they came here to come and conduct an inspection on this docket to see the status, whether there is any entry that is made on these dockets from the time they were handed over. They did find few of them, maybe a small percentage, I will not give the exact percentage now, but few of them, there were some entries that were made in those docket. From the investigation team, from the head office, they said they were instructed to conduct inspection on the docket. As they were conducting those inspections, they had made some entries that they had confirmed, some of them, that the investigation is complete. They're supposed to be arrested, but because they're not empowered to do that, they're not investigating officers, they didn't do anything about it. They just confirmed that on paper, and they left it there on the docket. I think only one of the dockets of the Eastern Cape where a contact was made with the victims in that case, but that was just about only thing that was ever done, contact made with the victim to tell them that we are having this case, we're investigating this case, together with the officials in Eastern Cape who were part of the initial investigation. They were also contacted by the head office team, and the entry was made on that case docket. So this is just only one out of all of them, that at least there was a contact with the victims. The rest, there was no contact with the victims, and some of them were inspected, some of them was not even inspected. And that was the status of this team. That's why I'm saying, commissioners, that when the media asked the National Commissioner about the status of the docket, and when the National Commissioner said he has given instruction for the dockets to go to KZN, it was all story to us, because we already received the instruction a week before. So we were already doing the heading over the time when the media brought this thing to the eyes of the public. So it came out as if it's something that was done on the day, but it's something that we were already doing the counting of the dockets. And it was Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, when the media asked the question, and the team was already in Pretoria doing the calculation of those dockets. And on Friday, they drove down to KZN in the docket. That's why we're even reflecting there that some of them, they were on the advanced stage where suspect needed to be arrested. And I can safely say that suspect has been arrested as a result of the state of readiness of those dockets. When they arrived back in KZN within a week, there were people charged.
So in short, General, except for the few entries in some of the dockets, the contents of the dockets were intact or were what they should have been.
I did not get the commission properly, the last part.
Oh, sorry. I was saying in that audit or verification exercise, during which it was established that there were some entries in a few of the dockets, the contents of the dockets were intact or were what they were supposed to be.
That is correct, Commissioner. All the dockets were as they were handed over originally to the head office. They came back as they were.
Just one other aspect. In paragraph 137 of your statement, you say that the last sentence, the meeting was led by Colonel Matlo, who advised that the dockets had been delivered to General Khumalo. And in paragraph 142, again the last sentence, you say in the period that they were under the control of General Sibiya, these arrests were not effected for reasons not known to me. The under control that they is referring to, I understand, is it not referring to dockets? By way of example, at the time of their removal from the task team. Yes, removal from the task team. I understand that to be a reference to the dockets. Am I correct?
That is correct,
Yes.
Commissioner.
Yes. Now my question is, the dockets, according to 137, were delivered to General Khumalo, and in 142, they are under the control of General Sibiya. This could mean one of, or two. It could refer to two possibilities. One, they could still have remained with General Khumalo, but be under the control of General Sibiya, or they could have been moved physically to be under the control of General Sibiya. Can you please explain that or shed light on that?
Commissioner, in order to give clarity, you'll see when I made the last statement, when I said, before the National Commissioner conducted the interview, that myself, the acting divisional commissioner of detective services, as well as General Khumalo, had a meeting, a visual meeting, discussing on how we're going to handle the transfer of this docket or the return of this dockets back. At the time, the dockets were sitting at the office of the divisional commissioner, crime intelligence, in a storeroom of one brigadier, I forgot his name, who works under the divisional commissioner, crime detection, Lieutenant General Sentumo. It is my understanding, Commissioner, that the dockets moved from Khumalo to General Sentumule from detectives on the direction of General Sibiya. Matlo on 137, Colonel Matlo, is with the task team in KZN. So he was only communicating the whereabouts of the docket according to his knowledge. His knowledge was that he handed them over to General Khumalo. What General Khumalo did with them, as the Commissioner is correctly asking, he couldn't answer that. And Jara Kumalo, in my engagement with him, was that Jara Sintumule and Jara Kumalo, both of them, had received the instruction specific from Sibiya that him, Kumalo, and Sintumule, they must transfer the dockets to each other. So meaning dockets coming from political clearance task team under Kumalo's signature must come to the detectives under Jara Sintumule. Hence, they landed at the storeroom of Sintumule. So, but both of them, they fall under Jara Sibiya as a portfolio in the office of the National Commission. So either way, whether they are at crime intelligence under Kumalo or they are at Sintumule under detective services, they still, both of those entities fall under Jara Sibiya. So if we say they're under the control of Jara Sibiya, we mean exactly that. He issued the instruction and he commanded those two entities.
Thank you, General.
Thank you, Chair. It's 16:13. I don't think I drove us to 13, but grateful for the indulgence. As I indicated, tomorrow morning we'll make sure that before we move to the next topic, we respond to Commissioner Kumalo's question, and then we will proceed in the normal way. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us adjourn. Thank you.